So Vuulr is the blend of a content rights marketplace with a sponsorship rights marketplace and a funding marketplace for the sports and entertainment content industries. We're building it on the blockchain, which is good and hot at the moment, creating our own token economy, listing our own token on crypto exchanges, and that's all going to take place in Q1 2018. So I started in technology coming out of a fairly traditional sports marketing, advertising, media background about 6 years ago when I bought a data business, and we then pivoted to create our own marketplace, which was then a sponsorship marketplace. And so I left behind that, what I now look back on as a pretty old-fashioned traditional industry about 6 years ago, and not looking back. So Vuulr came about when, again, a little bit of history here because it's quite complex, because I've pivoted personally a couple of times from the data business to the marketplace to Vuulr. But essentially, we really identified that in both the content industries and the sponsorship industries that there's huge inefficiency in these systems. They're industries that haven't really changed in the last, say, 30, 40 years. They're very analog, and the problems we identified were distribution of great ideas and great content. Those great pieces of content or those great sponsorship platforms just weren't seeing the light of day because of analog inefficiencies. The speed of doing a deal, of being able to trade between a buyer and seller, whether that's an advertiser in a sponsorship platform or a content producer in a TV network, is just very, very sluggish and can be accelerated hugely by the use of technology. The last real problem that we identified was cost, the friction of trade between a buyer and a seller. When there are middlemen intermediating between the deal, they can take an unhealthy cut out of that deal, which impacts both the content owner, producer, or the end user, the customer that's seeing that piece of content, that's having to be charged for that piece of content, potentially an unhealthy amount. So really with Vuulr, we're bringing together and trying to shake up two pretty old-fashioned industries. Before myself and my business partner got involved into Vuulr together, we had spent a year working on other parallel projects, and we had found that the main problem was funding. Finding that those seed investors, be it angel or institutional, to bite into the premise of what we were trying to do and to disrupt these two industries. And of course at that time we were running in parallel, we weren't joined together. So since doing that, we, as I kind of happily said, we found that the funding has arrived very, very quickly. And equally, the other differentiator, I think, from the old to the new is that we've decided to build on the blockchain, which is a very hot topic at the moment, but it also helps to, as that immutable record of ownership, which in the content industry is becoming also another hot topic with things like piracy and the abuse of content. So in short, it's been funding difficulty with VCs not being as expansive as they could be in Asia. But now that we've rebuilt things and introduced blockchain into the mix, things have transformed. Well, I'm a bit of an efficiency bunny, so even when I get up in the morning, I'm making sure that, everything's tidied away in the house, and, I know where my socks are and I know where my underpants are and that sort of thing, everything's all squared away. And so for me, it's all about creating efficiency for these two industries, knowing that, both of them are, they're crying out for a bit of help. And including, the content industry and the traditional Hollywood studios and production houses that are and the TV broadcasters who are being disrupted by the Netflixes and the Amazon Primes of the world. That the CFOs working in those industries are, and equally the CEOs, they're being hurt and their bottom line's being eroded by these disruptors. So we really, really want to create efficiency for them and enable them to trade faster and cheaper. The one I've always joked about when I was talking about the sponsorship marketplace we built as a forerunner, sort of part of Vuulr, was that we were creating, back then, we used to say we were creating a Tinder for sponsorship, because essentially that's what we were doing. Was the marketplace was acting as a matchmaker between a buyer and a seller, an advertiser and a platform owner, whatever that sponsorship platform was. So I guess I've drawn analogies back to Tinder, for right or for wrong, because it obviously has some interesting sides to it. But I think, in other ways it's created, technology has created some efficiency in the dating game.